What's up, my fellow adult collectors, and welcome to Surveying Collectibles. For today's video, I want to talk about McFarlane Toys and their time with the DC license so far. When McFarlane first took over the license back in 2020, he stated that he initially had a 3-year contract with DC. So, I thought this would be a great time to look back at that first 3 years to evaluate and give my opinions on how it's gone so far. Along with a brief overview of the evolution of the line, I'll also be adding in a top 10 list of my favorite figures from 2020 to 2022. If this is your first time on my channel, hi, my name is Seville, and here I'd like to discuss action figures and other collectibles based on my favorite movies, TV shows, and video games. If you find this video enjoyable or informative, please give me a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell. So, McFarlane's first year with the DC Multiverse line definitely had a rough start. Obviously, he was still somewhat new to the articulation game, having really only done so in the Fortnite figures and Mortal Kombat figures up to this point. The first few waves were very Batman-centric, and he tried doing a build-a-Batmobile thing instead of build-a-figures, but that didn't really work all that well for him. I remember watching several interviews with Todd when he first got the license. Most of the decisions he made was done so to stand out from other companies. That's why he did the Build-A-Batmobile thing. That's why he chose the 7-inch scale. That's why he chose to make new versions of characters that hadn't been done before. That way, he wasn't just repeating the same things from Mattel or Kenner or anybody before them. Of course, he did repeat some things like the animated universe or the Arkham game series, but he still tried to put his own spin on them. He wasn't just recreating the exact same figure. The early figures weren't without their flaws, but over time, production did get better. The sculpts became more detailed, proportions became more balanced, and articulation was improved by adding double-jointed elbows. By the third year, the line had expanded beyond the primarily Bat-centric characters, but of course, he was still included in there somewhere almost all the time. I know one gripe that still kind of plagues the line even today is instead of having just alternate heads packaged in with a figure, McFarlane tends to just make a whole separate figure with an alternate head, kind of making you have to buy the figure twice if you want both of them. But for me personally, I just pick the one I want more and get that one. Like, if there's an unmasked Batman, I'm just going to buy the masked one. Beyond that, I do have to commend McFarlane for reaching out even beyond the Multiverse line, doing the Page Punchers line, the Batman 66, and the Superpowers remakes. While they're not really for me, like, I don't buy any of these, I know there's an audience for him, and he's making a lot of people really happy. With all that said, though, now I'm going to get into my top 10 favorite McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse figures so far. Now, by the time you're watching this, there probably already been some releases for 2023, but I'm not counting those here. I'm only doing the first 3 years worth of releases. I'm also going to leave off all Build-A-Figures, because to me, it's not really fair to include them if you can't just buy them in one single package. So, starting at number 10, I have the Batman Arkham Asylum Killer Croc Mega Fig. This croc is huge, very detailed, and worth every single penny of that $40 price point for the Mega Figs. I didn't buy Croc until after Christmas because my stores had loads of them, so I wasn't really in a hurry, but had I bought him before I did my top 10 of 2022, he would have been included for sure. Coming at number 9, I have Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad. Now, I don't really like this costume, because it's not truly a Harley costume, it's really just a red dress that got thrown on her for the movie. But the figure itself, Harley's body, it does capture the look of Margot Robbie very well. I kept hoping McFarlane would actually do a figure based on the suit she's wearing towards the beginning of the film, but unfortunately, this is all we have. Next up, coming in at number 8, I have another Mega Fig, this time Swamp Thing, based on his appearance in DC Rebirth. Now, typically, I don't buy a lot of comic book-based figures, but in this particular case, with it being Swamp Thing, this is pretty much how he's going to look in any medium anyway, so I've gotten him more to fill in holes in my Injustice collection, because this is really how he's going to look in that game, in any game, on TV show, everything. For number 7, though, I intentionally have a DC Rebirth figure, Super Lex. Those of you who watched my personal history with DC video know that DC Rebirth and Path of Doom were both very instrumental in getting me back to reading comic books when I basically stepped away from them for quite some time after the New 52 debacle. So because of that story, this particular version of Lex Luthor is pretty important to me. Next, coming at number 6, I have the Batman Arkham City version of Catwoman. If y'all saw my top 10 of 2022, you know Catwoman made the list, because to me, this is the definitive version of Catwoman overall. When I hear the name Selena Kyle, this is the imagery, this is the design, this is the style that I think of. This figure pretty much nails everything about this particular costume. Now, moving into my top 5, with number 5 itself, I have The Flash, based on his appearance in the CW TV show. I gotta admit, I don't like the way they made the torso joint in this one. It looks really reminiscent of that very first Detective Comics 1000 Batman they made, and that was just ugly. But overall, this is still my favorite version of The Flash himself. I do hope that McFarlane will continue to make other Arrowverse characters, such as Supergirl, Deathstroke, and White Canary. Coming in at number 4, I have Hawkman, based on his appearance in the Black Adam movie. While I've had some Hawkman figures in the past, either based on the comic books themselves or based on the CW shows, this one's probably my favorite iteration. My only real gripe with this figure is that the wings are stuck. I really wish they would open. If they ever decide to redo this figure as like a deluxe pack with articulated wings, I would buy that in a heartbeat. Coming at number 3, I have Wonder Woman, based on her appearance in the '84 film. Now, I know her legs still look kind of weird, and a lot of people describe them as being hot dog legs, but in the end, this is still one of the best looking Wonder Woman figures we have at this point. Beyond that, the overall sculpt, the design, the bright colors, all of that looks great, and she fits right in alongside the rest of the live-action Justice League figures. Next up, I have the Arkham City version of Batman. Much like the Arkham City Catwoman, to me, this is the definitive look of Batman. This is what I think of, the black and gray suit, the big black bat emblem on his chest, all that stuff. In the first year or so, there was an Arkham Asylum version, but this figure does have some improvements over that one. The only thing I wish they would have figured out was doing double jointed elbows on this one. And finally, coming in at number 1, as I'm sure most of you probably guessed by this point, is Superman. While this figure is officially labeled as the Zack Snyder's Justice League version, technically it's kind of not, because he actually did not wear red and blue in that film at all. Instead, it was the black suit, but they still made this version as a Target exclusive alternate. While I am appreciative that the black suit did get used in the Snyder cut of the film, you can't go wrong with the red and blue. So really, number 1 could be either or. Whichever one's your favorite, that's the one in the number 1 spot. So there you have it. My complete top 10 McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse action figures from 2020 through 2022. Which of these are your favorites? Are there any you'd add in? Are there any you'd take away? Let me know in the comments below. Even though the line was very, very Batman heavy in the beginning, there's a good wide range of characters now. Pretty much something for everyone if you're a DC collector at all. Lots of heroes, plenty of villains, several teams that are either complete or almost complete, stuff from the movies, TV shows, video games, a lot of different comic book arcs, Blackest Night, Nightfall, Death Metal, you name it, he's pretty much at least tried something from it by now. The figures aren't perfect. Plenty of them have had their flaws, but dollar for dollar, you're getting the most bang for your buck from McFarlane Toys than any other company right now. Hasbro and Mattel have both been raising their prices over the last year, but McFarlane is still $19.99 for a basic single figure, $24.99 for one that includes a Build-A-Figure piece, or $39.99 for the large characters like the Killer Croc. That's insane compared to the others. Personally, I can't wait to see what all comes out in 2023. Can't wait for the Dark Knight wave and everything else that comes down the line. The worst problem is going to be needing more shelves.